but they're not learning through books, and that is going to be a lifelong learning, right? I'm sure all of you see it is nothing new. Basically, all of us remember, what in our classrooms, we remember our teacher who would make us do a lot of things, make us remember, make us learn loudly, make us read loudly, make us draw, make timelines for us to understand, correlate. So it is just exactly that we are trying to do. I won't say it's a challenge for many, because this is exactly what you've done with your child at home too. You've only tried to simplify and make these studies interesting in a manner which will be best suited to your child, right? Not every learner is similar to the other. We are all custom made. Therefore, our learning is also custom made. This is something which we have to keep in mind. And that is how we need to look at our lessons very, very minutely and make up schemes, make up setups which are better understood by our children. That's the
Thank you.
whole crux, right? I think
Thank you,
it is
ma'am, and
5:30
sorry.
already. Yeah, it's
Sorry for
5:30.
interrupting you, ma'am.
Not at
We
all.
are live now, so we can just begin with the session now.
All right.
And you can continue.
Thanks.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Thank you. All right. Can we begin now?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and it gives me huge pleasure to be here with you this evening to share whatever little I know about NCF and NEP and how we can bring it to our classrooms. Also, I would like this session to be interactive. Else, it is just going to remind me of the pandemic days when the teacher in me would only speak in the classroom and I would really not know what is happening at the other end, right? So would request all of you to ensure that we are interacting, and it's a learning session for all of us and each one of us. So allow me to understand that I'm in a classroom. I'm a very, very conventional teacher who's also grappling with what I'm expected to do in classrooms at the moment. So allow me to understand that, I am being heard, and uh, and there is a discussion which also keeps me alive rather than being just the speaker. Okay, let's go to the first word here, NCF. I'm sure by now you understand that NCF is the National Curriculum Framework. NCRT frames the NCF, and then it is given to the Union Cabinet for its approval. All right. I repeat myself once more. NCF is the National Curriculum Framework, which is to be universally accepted, whether you run a state board school or you work for a state board school, you run an ICSE school or you work for a CBSE school. That is immaterial, and we need to follow this framework because it's like a mandate for people who are in institutions of learning. All right. Let's go to the second catchword here, which is Indian rootedness. What would we mean by Indian rootedness? All right. Now, let's look at this word. Indian is something which has to do with us, definitely. And rootedness means it's a firm establishment or well-grounded. All right. All right. Can I get a couple of thumbs up or a yes, maybe, to make me understand that I'm being heard, being understood? Hello? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. You are audible, and we are getting messages on chat.
Okay, all right. So let me just go back to what I was doing. I said NCF, and then I said Indian rootedness, and I said Indian refers to us, that is India, basically our rich tapestry of culture and the pride that we take in our culture and the knowledge of it too. And when we talk about rootedness, we are talking about being firmly established or well grounded. All right. How do you think that NCF and Indian rootedness, Indian heritage, how can we establish this all under one umbrella? Well, if you look at the NCF draft, if you look at the complete document, the major emphasis of NCF is to look at the Indianness not only in thoughts, but in spirit, intellect, deeds, knowledge, skills, values, and other dispositions. For example, when we are talking about Indian rootedness in NCF, we are looking at the kind of environment, the delivery of curriculum that would happen in the ancient times. For example, if you look at the Gurukul method of schooling, what did it lay emphasis on? It laid emphasis on students being in school along with the teacher or the mentor, and the mentor was responsible in complete development with the child. It had something of a hostile environment, what we understand today. But what is the inner meaning of Gurukul is that the teacher is the main instrument in shaping the student all along, right? He would just not deliver knowledge. He was delivering everything required by the student to become a complete figure or a complete human being. And the knowledge was not just to acquire knowledge, but the knowledge was to also deliver, apply, and make his life easier and better balanced. All right. Now let's see what is the NCF telling us, and how is it helping us in the future of education. I'll read it out for you. At its core, the revamped curriculum framework aspires to usher in a new era of school education characterized by progressive changes, not only in pedagogical methodologies, but also in school culture and environment. The overarching goal is to create a seamless blend of traditional Indian wisdom and modern learning paradigm. This is exactly what I told you while we were in the first introductory slide of mine, where we said that we're looking at progressive changes, not in just our teaching methods, but in ensuring that the knowledge that the child has acquired allows him to live his life peacefully. So suddenly, in schools, we are talking about competency-based education. We are talking about experiential learning. We are talking about a lot of life skill. We are talking about value education. And let me tell you all that, CBSE, I teach in a CBSE school. Last out of my career span of 23 years, I've been in CBSE schools for 19 years. So therefore, CBSE is deeply ingrained in me. CBSE says that we should not have any separate classes for moral science and value education and life skill. And, these classes are not to be allotted as periods in our timetable. We are supposed to teach it to a child from the moment he enters our school gates till he is independent enough to apply it to betterment of his life. I repeat myself. The moment the child steps into your school, the gate, right, till he has enough knowledge to apply to make his life a better one. All right. So it cannot be, one period where you teach him through a story or through whatever, and then you ask him to draw on a chart and you say, okay, honesty is the best policy, is taught to the child. No, it is not to be dealt like that. It is to be dealt with the lesson classes. It is to be dealt in a manner, and we can't say that moment he steps out at dispersal time when he goes back home, that my work as a teacher is over and I don't need to, deal with non-curriculum problems that he's having. No, this is not what NCF or NEP is asking you to do. They are constantly saying that, when you're delivering your lessons, it has to be integrated with a core value. It has to be integrated with a value system. It has to be integrated with a life skill that you're trying to teach to a child. Right? Because let me tell you one thing, the generation that we are teaching, the Z generation that they are, they will not take sermons from you. You need to explain to them, if you're telling them that you would want them to wear a certain kind of a uniform in a certain manner for your school, they would want you to tell them the logic. You can't tell them that, okay, you need to wear your hair short, especially boys. They'll come back and ask you, why do you want me to wear my hair short? How does it matter, or how does it imply to my learning in school? You need to tell them that because you wear a uniform, and that because all of us should have similar kind of a hairstyle, because discipline is something which is difficult to practice and it's very, very easy to deviate. You need to tell them in a manner which is understood to them. Gone are the days, all of you will agree with me, gone are the days when you would just tell a child that you have to do it. There is no have to do it now anymore. You can't tell them. If they ask you a question, you can't get irritated and tell them, because I am asking you to do so. They're not going to listen to you. You need to exactly explain to them that why would you want them to do it? It's that simple. And if your logic is strong enough, it is understood. Once again, don't take the entire onus of being autocratic. It's not going to work at all. It is not going to work at all, right? So therefore, do understand that if you are saying a certain thing, you need to validate that. It just cannot be thrown from your end because you happen to be in a position of authority, right? So please understand, please be circumstantial when you're talking to your students. Look into their age, their frame of mind, even the day, even the duration of the day when you're talking to them. Are they in a mood to understand, right? And you have to be, like I said, you need to be very, very circumstantial and play and choose your words accordingly. I hope I'm being understood here. All right. Okay. Now you would say that what is that NCF is asking us to do when we are talking about Indian rootedness? Well, when we say Indian rootedness, we are just not talking about Indianness in thoughts. Like I said earlier, we are also looking at the pursuit of knowledge, which is Gyan. We are looking at wisdom, which is Pragyan or Pragya. And we are looking at truth, which is Satya. Right? I repeat myself once more. The pursuit of knowledge, Gyan, wisdom, which is Pragyan or Pragya, and truth, Satya. This is what makes the complete crux of our system and tradition. All right. So what are we trying to do? We are trying to create a seamless balance of traditional Indian wisdom and modern learning paradigm. The challenge is here. Why? Because, if you look at very minutely at the society at the moment, there are a number of changes which are happening. You could blame it on the technology which is available to students. You can blame it on the value system. You can blame it on the kind of upbringing they're having at home. You can blame it onto the schools, probably, because that's the easiest thing to do. But I'll tell you something. In spite of all the blaming, do understand there is no concept of a weak student anymore. If there is a concept of anybody being weak, it's only the facilitator or the teacher in classroom, right? So if you are not able to get across to your children, do understand that it's going to be a very, very uphill task to create a seamless blend of traditional Indian wisdom and modern learning paradigm in classrooms. Clear? Because do understand not every child will have similar access to all facilities in terms of logistics, technology, available reading material, supervised reading material. No, they're not going to have that, right? But yet you have to bridge this challenge and understand that, again, the dynamics of each school is different. The dynamic of my school here, the dynamics of your school in some other state, some other part of the country is going to be very, very different, right? So again, as a teacher, you need to be circumstantial and create a seamless blend of traditional Indian wisdom and modern learning. I'll give you an example. We were trying to talk about body shaming through biology classes, because that's a huge problem in the middle school. Middle school meaning classes 5, 6, 7, 8. Girls these days are uh, reaching their menarche very, very at a very early age. Class 5 girls are reaching a menarche. Right now, we wanted, and sometimes it's not spoken at all in class at their homes, and the girl comes to school and suddenly realizes that she's in trouble and she has no idea as to what has happened to her, because nobody has spoken about it to her. And because in most Indian homes it's a hush hush topic, nobody talks about it. The channel of the television is changed if it happens to be showing an advertisement of a sanitary napkin, so it gets difficult. I wanted to place a vending machine, a sanitary vending machine, sanitary pad vending machine in my school. And I had to fight a tough battle because many of my parents took a strong stance of saying that it's a shameless display. I had to constantly not just talk to my girl students and my boy students, but I had to talk constantly to the parents as well to make them understand that it is nothing one needs to hide or be ashamed of. You understand? So that is what I'm trying to tell you when I say that you have to be very, very circumstantial. What would seem very normal to you may not seem very normal to the kind of people you're catering to. All right. So therefore, you need to understand the dynamics and then get across to what you are aiming at. All right. Coming back to the topic as to what would you understand by tradition and how culture will help us in education. I'm sure many of you, I'm not able to see the chat actually. I'll just give me just 1 minute, please. Okay. Am I not audible? Because somebody is writing here that I'm not audible.
Ma'am, you are audible, ma'am. Maybe it's issue with their network. You are audible, ma'am. You can continue.
All right. No, I just wanted to take a couple of question here. I just wanted to see what is the kind of reaction I'm getting at. Everybody is talking about being audible. All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Just a moment. Okay. All right. I'll get back to the presentation. Any questions, anyone? Officials from Goyal Brothers, is there a possibility of taking questions from the?
Yes, ma'am. Definitely will do that, ma'am. I have one question. How
Yes,
does NCF promote cultural and linguistic diversity in education?
coming to it. Coming to it. Coming
Sure.
to it. I'm just coming to it. All right. Other than that, any other question? Okay.
I request everyone to please drop your questions on a chat box, or you can simply raise your hand and you can ask the question.
Okay. Okay. All right. The question was, is that Sukanya? Sukanya, could you repeat the question once more? We were talking about linguistics and how
Yes,
NEP or
ma'am. Sure.
NCF? Yeah.
Sure. It's ma'am, how does NCF promote cultural and linguistic diversity in education?
All right. Okay. Uh, I'm sure out of all the 600 odd participants here, many of you are from CBSE schools, if I'm not wrong. Sukanya, any idea?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Yeah, majority should be from CBSE schools.
Right, ma'am.
All right. In that aspect, now why am I asking whether you are from CBSE or not? We have a very good program run by CBSE, which is known as Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat. Right? Now, under this Ek Bharat Shresht Bharat program, states are clubbed together. Like, for example, last year, it was West Bengal and Ladakh. Right? So what we were supposed to do, it's very similar to the cultural exchange programs we would have earlier for a couple of other programs like the Indian Dimension Awards conducted by the British Council, or the various other programs that we used to keep having with a couple of institutes who were doing pretty good work in cultural exchange program. And when we say cultural exchange program, since it was taking part in classrooms, it had to be integrated with the syllabus. Coming to linguistics. When we talk about linguistics in classroom, here we are talking about majorly one script, universally accepted, that is Devanagari, the Hindi script. Okay. Now we were trying to, because in Ladakh the expression of Hindi is fairly low. It's not very encouraged there. All right. So people had very limited knowledge about Hindi usage, the development, etc. So what we did was, we have a poem in Hindi, I think in classes 5 or 6, which is called Barish Ki Boonde. Okay. And what we did was, we took up that poem and then we related it to science as to how the Barish Ki Boonde captures the spherical shape. Okay. How the water cycle is connected to make rains happen in a place. Okay, the geography part of the story. And then we looked at the what does the quality of rain, the amount of rain, too much of rain, too less of rain does to the agricultural production of a country, right, of a state. And then what do you do? We even went to the extent of water harvesting, etc., even at domestic levels. All right. So this was a complete presentation, keeping in mind one poem. And in the poem, as you go into the poem, you will realize that there are different ras, what is known as emotions, through the poem. What happens when the boond is developing? What happens when it drops down and hits the ground? What happens when it is being utilized? So it was a poem which had different types of ras also being taught to a child. So what we did was, we took this poem as the central part of the development of the project, and through it, and then we even included, like, what is the kind of food that one should have during rainy season, what would help you to build up your immunity, because people keep falling ill to gastro infections, to respiratory infections during rainy season. So we build up a complete project around Barish Ki Boonde, right? So when we talk about linguistics, we have a very, very rich culture when we talk about linguistics, meaning languages, not just Hindi, Sanskrit, right? These, for that matter, Bengali, because I happen to be from Bengal, so it's easier for me to correlate Bengali. Similarly, people from different regions will have different authors with whom they can, they have, because of being local from there, they have a better understanding. So a lot of your development of the language is because of the area that you come from. It is how it captures the local flavor of an area. It tells you a lot about the cultural development of a particular state. It tells you how best you can, use it to harness the local resources, right? For example, people who've been to Shantiniketan, our side, it is basically, there's a lot of Santhal. Santhal is a tribe, okay, a local tribe of West Bengal. They generally live in the forest area. Now, of course, they have developed. There are so many schemes through which their development has been looked into. But if you visit Shantiniketan ever, you will see that the mud houses of these Santhal villages are so beautifully decorated, and the decoration is generally about the environment that they are in. It's the local environment that they draw on their walls. For example, the animals that stay with them, the kind of trees, right, which are found there. It is all these drawings give you a picture of the local environment or the local natural habitat that is surrounding these villages, right? And the kind of cloth, the fabric that they use, which is a bit rough in texture, the kind of headgears they wear, very, very colorful headgears. So it tells you a lot when we talk about culture and language. We get to know that how this particular state has developed and how it is, what is the local flavor is very, very clearly understood when we look into it deeply. I hope I have been able to answer the question. If not, I'll get back to it once again. So here, schools, when we did Ek Bharat Shresh Bharat, we did pick up Chhau dance. It is a local dance from our region. Bankura specializes in Chhau dance. Chhau dance is basically where it talks about the mythology, Indian mythology, and majorly it talks about the overpowering of evil by the good powers, the forces. So these are all ways and methods of making children understand. So you are just not developing their knowledge, you are also developing their auditory skills, their application skills, and more importantly, you are allowing them to picturize a lot of, because not many children would enjoy a storytelling session if there is only one source of delivery, right? All right. So schools are encouraged to harness local resources for learning, drawing, language, practices, historical narratives, local expertise, and the environment itself as source of inspiration and illustration. This is what I was telling you about. So the NCF actually tells you to, it urges you to promote India's ancient traditions, integrating them into contemporary education. See, something as simple as, now for us schools, we understand that June 21st is a very, very important date, right? Because the Yoga Day is celebrated with huge pomp and show in majority of schools, right? You go way out to make the day very, very special. Now, yoga is an Indian form of exercise, and you all know how well it has been accepted, not just India over, but world over. And it has been realized that it does make a lot of mental and physical changes when you are a regular practicing yoga. All right. So these are a couple of examples through which you can integrate our culture, our tradition, and weave it into the education. All right. Now let's look at the key highlights of National Curriculum Framework 2023. Before this, before the 2023 NCF, NCF 2005 was there, and that was revised and remade in this year, which is the NCF 2023. Now, what does it say? The key points, okay? Age group coverage and institutional diversity, something we have already spoken about, right? I will go very slow for convenience of all. However, if there are questions, please feel free to stop me and ask. Because other than the chat, I'm not getting questions. So I'm really not understanding if I'm getting across to you. Okay, having said that, age group coverage and institutional diversity. This framework addresses students in the age group of 3 to 18 years. We are looking at school going children, okay, generally who come to us in the age group of 3 to 18 years, spanning across a diverse range of educational institutions throughout the nation. You see, not every child will have equal access to education. But with the NCF, at least we can ensure that every child would have an exposure to a standard method of delivery of education. All right. You would say that that's in the dreams because, practical implications could be different. You're correct. You are absolutely correct. But we are talking about majority alliance to the NCF. And I'm sure the schools run by the state governments or otherwise will be taking into cognizance the instructions laid down by the NCF too, right? So yes, the framework addresses students in the age group of 3 to 18 years. So that is absolutely infancy to adulthood, spanning across a diverse range of educational institutions throughout. Now look at the word there, diverse range of educational institutions. Facilities that you would have in a city or, with apology to whoever it hurts, high-end schools, meaning schools which are private schools, which would have a lot of facilities at snap of their fingers, vis-a-vis schools which are not located in the city, which are maybe located in a colliery area, located in a absolute urban setup, located in remote places. It could. That's why the word diverse range of educational institutions throughout the nation. Let's look at the second highlight, staggered structure of education. NCF 2023 adopts the scheme 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure. Okay, the first 5 years are your absolute infancy or the primary stages, and then we look at the middle school, the secondary school, and the senior secondary, which is 9, 10, 11, 12. That's the 4 years we are talking about in the last stage. That is that is what we are looking at, right? Okay. And that's the first 5. Let's look at the figure 5 there. The system is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Let's look at the first 5. You see, the first 5 are the major challenge area in any school. In any school, in any state, that's the major challenge area because, you are getting children who are not shaped out in a similar manner. See, when you get children in lower KG or the first class, it would be nursery or pre-nursery. We are not talking about pre-nursery. Nursery doesn't come into picture when we talk about these classes. In fact, lower KG is also not coming. However, what I'm trying to tell you is your first class, okay, wherein you receive students, is a lot tougher than the second class a child goes into in your school. How is that tougher? Number one, huge expectations. All right. Absolute diverse backgrounds. It takes a lot of, what should I say, perseverance and patience by the teacher to bring them under one umbrella. And of course, then the things go easier. Now, with this 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 structure, the first 5 years, that is the pilot stage we are in at the moment, The first 5 years are very, very important, meaning that, this is where you have to allow the child to learn in a method which is best understood, could also be in a language which is his mother tongue. Challenge again. Okay. And you have to ensure that by the end of class 3, you see, very recently, just last year, we had the national survey, academic survey, NAS 2022. And there, the survey told us that children at the age of 9 years, which is completion of class 3, 43% of them do not know how to read or calculate. And when I say calculate, we're talking about addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. They are not able to do that at all fluently without any support from the facilitator. This was one indicator. So now we have something known as the FLN, which is fluency in literacy and numeracy. And we have milestones clearly stated in the NEP, which says that by the end of class 3, a child should be easily, comfortably reading English or Hindi or his mother tongue, any of it. And as a school, we have to accept, you can't say it's an English medium school. Therefore, if a child can read Marathi or Gujarati clearly, you will not stand a scope. You don't have a scope, rather, you cannot stop the child saying that. The child is not able to read in English fluently or clearly. All right? Okay. So NCF 2023 adopts the 5+3+4 structure, which corresponds to the foundational. The first year is known as the foundational years. The next 3 years are known as the preparatory, that is the first 3. The second 3 refers to the middle. And the last 4, the figure 4, applies to secondary stages, as outlined by NEP 2020. Each stage is strategically designed to cater to specific developmental milestones. All right? Okay. Now, language learning evolution. Now, somebody had a question a couple of minutes back that how do you integrate linguistics and culture? So coming to that. The language learning evolution. The framework meticulously addresses the 3 language formula of R1, R2, and R3 with distinct literacy and proficiency milestones for each language, emphasizing holistic language development and appreciation of India's literary heritage. Now, how do you do that? You can do it through learning from the mythology. You can do it from learning. Now, I'll give you a simple example. See, our children have actually forgotten to read. We introduce a scheme in a library because if you look at the log register of the library, even during the library, it's firstly, it is treated as a free period, which is definitely, it is not, right? And if you look at the log register of library, post-school visits to the library is actually null or 0. It's just not there. Okay. So what we thought that, if we need to encourage children to read, which they've completely forgotten, we introduced a system in the library saying the Library Appreciation Award. Now, what does this mean? It means that in classes 3, 4, and 5, okay, a child has to read necessarily 3 books in a year, which is not related to their curriculum or syllabus. It should be a fictional book, or it could be a science non-fictional book. Child is supposed to read it. Okay. Sometimes the teachers are prescribing. For example, it could be Matilda, it could be an Enid Blyton, it could be a Noddy, whatever. And a worksheet is developed on the book that has been read. For example, if they read Cinderella, I'm just giving you a random example. If they read Cinderella, children were asked to twist the character of Cinderella. Okay, what if Cinderella did not have Cinderella characters? All right, what happened if the pumpkin and the glass slipper never got lost? Right? So they were given questions which actually looked into their creativity. What we also did was during the break time, we laid out a couple of library books in our ground. We brought it out for a regular period of time, for a long period of time, and we would allow children to browse. Initially, very few people would come to browse. Gradually, we started keeping, comics, those large books, a Tintin, an Asterix, and slowly, children started moving towards these racks. Okay, we regularly have book fairs, not to promote buying, but to promote reading in children. Okay, and now parents know, even if it means somewhere by force, that the scheme is there, the library appreciation, and a child is supposed to read at least 3 books. Could be English, fictional, could be Bengali, could be Hindi, could be any other language, right? But he has to read a prescribed or a non-prescribed book, okay? And there would be a worksheet on it which will be evaluated. All right? We tell them in advance. We tell them in advance that this is the book we are planning to make our children read. That is exactly what we do on bagless days. That is exactly what we did a couple of days ago when we finished our half-yearly exams, the terminal exams, and then we were having a couple of days left over for the holidays to begin. So every day by rotation we were having bagless days. A class was made to watch a movie. I think they watched Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, one of the classes. And then a worksheet was developed on it, and children were supposed to answer after having seen the movie. There were color celebrating days. For example, the babies, the classes 1 and 2, they had color days. For example, class 1 had orange day. Orange day meaning they were allowed to wear orange dresses to school, and everything they carry that day would be orange, including the food that they're carrying. So it could have been an orange, it could have been a halwa with orange tinge in it. It could have been anything, all right, which had orange in its as one of its major characters. All right. Okay. Right. Let's go to the next one. The more when we have something known as the examination. Like I said, even now, exams just don't lead to stress and anxiety in children. It leads to the same in adults too. All right. So the examination system is to be developed in such a manner. If you've been looking at the question papers now being developed by CBSE for classes 10 and 12, a lot of questions are MCQ based. A lot of questions are case based. Okay. So that you are not able to do rote learning and just vomit it out there on the question paper. You are supposed to get the application and the skill to apply the knowledge that you have acquired through the year, right? So NCF 2023 proposes revolutionary changes to the examination system by aligning exams with curriculum defined competencies, introducing flexibility through biannual board exams, and ensuring rigorous training for test personnel. I repeat, revolutionary changes, couple of changes we are able to see in the question papers for the bygone years of the CBSE examination of classes 10 and 12, wherein changes like MCQ, again, those MCQs are not always very simple, but then again, to understand that the question paper aims to see that a child of average intelligence or performance is also able to acquire minimal marks, right? So it aligns exams with curriculum defined competencies, that is knowledge, application, and skills, and introducing flexibility, like the open schools have a flexibility in the examination. If you think you're ready by the end of the third month, then you can take an examination. Then if you're ready by the end of the 6th month, you can take an examination. If you're ready by the end of the 9th month, you are free to take the examination, right? Learning at your pace is what is being promoted when we talk about flexibility through biannual board exams. Something what we had during the COVID, if you remember, term 1 exam and term 2 exam. One we had in December, and then one we had during the summers, which was May, late May. So that year was 1 year in the recent past when the board conducted 2 examinations, right? And both because otherwise, you see, you have 1 examination at the end of the session. I'm talking about the board classes. And implications of the other examination, except for in-house examinations, practical examinations, and internal assessment, there are no implications on the report card that is being generated by the board at the end of the year. And ensuring rigorous training for the test personnel. Similar question papers are to be simulated by the schools so that our children are already trained to understand that how the question paper may look like at the end of the academic year. All right. Enhanced focus on language study. Classes 11 and 12 involve the study of 2 languages, including an Indian language at a literature level, nurturing linguistic proficiency. For example, now in most schools, English is the only language which is taught to class 11, 12, barring the humanities section where you could have a second language also. So it's usually English core or English elective, which is taught to the child. All right. The science and the commerce stream, and the humanities could have an option of second language. But now what NCF is saying is that even students of the secondary level, that is 11 and 12, will have to necessarily study 2 languages. All right. Including an Indian language, meaning it cannot be English. All right. Could be Hindi, could be Sanskrit, could be the vernacular. Nurturing the linguistic proficiency. All right. Semester-based subject selection. Classes 11, 12 will offer a broader range of subjects for selection based on semester-based examination. So you would have exams at regular intervals. Looking at your proficiency in these examinations, you will be offered a subject subsequently. All right. Okay. Comprehensive assessment approach. To complete class 10, students must excel in 2 required courses from each of the 8 available curricular areas. Vocational, arts, and physical education will have local assessments alongside board certification. We do have something known as the health and physical education portal, which we are supposed to fill in before we go for registration and LOC generation. As if now it is very shallow because it is left to the schools without much evidence having been to produce to the board. But very soon we will have hardcore evidence to be given to the board over and above just a file being submitted by the child. All right. If you look at the Seva portal very carefully, you will understand that yes, it would have a lot of implication there too. Holistic learning goals, NCF 2023, underscores the aims of education from NEP 2020. Striving for holistic development and value-based learning. Shift from memorization to skill development. The framework stresses the need to move from rote memorization. What do you understand by rote memorization? Yaad karna, ratna, That is rote memorization. Fostering skill development and values cultivation. See, values cultivation, you cannot do any rote memorization there. आप रटा नहीं मार सकते हो. Now, what are the value cultivation we are doing? Sharing, caring, gratefulness, gratitude. All right. All this is to be taught to the child through normal classes. Okay. All right. Okay. Any questions? Anyone? Anybody? Any questions? Officials from Goyal Brothers, any questions? Anybody has?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We are open for question and answers now. We would request if anybody want to speak or write down their
Can I
questions.
quickly just finish a couple of more and then we could, just
Yeah.
5 more minutes. 5 more
Yeah,
minutes
sure.
and I'll wrap up. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine, ma'am. You can.
All right. Nurturing supportive ecosystem. It underscores the importance of infrastructure, okay? It underscores the importance of infrastructure resources, teacher involvement, and community engagement for effective implementation. Therefore, these skill subjects, taking of skill subjects from classes 6 onwards is now a necessity, right? Now, when you're teaching the skill subjects, industry visits, field visits are an absolute mandate. Learner-centered holism, emphasizing flexibility and inclusivity, right? Again, if we talk about inclusivity, it's a complete session in its own self and it gets difficult to finish in very, very short time. Now, when we talk about inclusion, we are just not talking about special children, but we are also talking about the third gender. All right. So, yes, we are looking at a learner-centered approach that prepares students for life beyond school. That's the major aim. And progressive modes of inquiry, play-based learning, problem-based learning, we have project-based learning, we have, a number of strategies. And, when we talk about assessment strategies, we're just not talking about question answers that are being answered by a child at the end of the session. We are talking about assessment, which could be oral, which could be written, in form of art integration, in form of creativity, anything which allows you to assess. There's a lot of difference between assessment and examination, right? So we are asking facilitators in classroom to think about assessment strategies. Now, if you have to assess my handwriting, you have very clear-cut parameters. But if you have to assess my creativity, you again need to develop, all right, very, very clear-cut parameters, because this is subjective. Creativity is it's very, very subjective. What could look like a beautiful essay to me, very erudite, very well sentenced, may not look the same to you, because our value systems are different. All right. Our thought processes are different. Your value systems develops your thought processes. Therefore, naturally, it would not be, it cannot be classified as a group understanding. All right. Okay. Real world contextualization. This is very clearly understood, that we're talking about practical application of what the children are learning. So if you're talking about fractions being taught to class 5, we are asking them to understand what happens when you mix, say maybe fruit juice and water. What is the dilution that you are doing? What is the core value that you have learned? All right. What could the street vendor be doing when he's extra diluting your juice? All right. Okay. Symbiotic relationship with NEP, NCF, and NEP has to definitely go hand in hand. It has to be mutualistic. If the core value of both these unified instructions are not same, then the execution will be very, very difficult for us, right? All right. Goal-driven curriculum. Well, you have to have a learning objective, and you need to know at the end of the delivery of the lesson, the learning outcome, the LOLO, the connection of the learning objective to the connection of the learning outcome has to be clearly defined, and you should also know how to, if suppose there are shortcomings, which is very natural and very essential. If you are able to, you should be having methods to identify the shortcomings and know the route map to overcome the shortcomings. Okay, again, a 4-stage odyssey, that is 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Foundation, preparatory, middle, and secondary. All right. And then again, the ages are given. Foundation is 3 to 8. So we are generally talking till classes 3 here. 8 to 11, we are talking about 4, 5, 6 onwards. All right. And middle stages. And then finally, the secondary stages where we are talking about pre-adolescents and adults. Again, the crux here is beyond memorization, rethinking assessments. So radical departures you have to make from conventional assessment. For example, define force. What is circular motion? These questions are supposed to move away from your methods of assessment. All right. This shift will only allow you to get the holistic understanding and practical application of knowledge. CBSE, ICSE, and all other forms of education are boards which are applicable. All right. And yes, it looks like a new dawn for the Indian education. However, one more thing I need to tell you here, the NCRT has a robust website. And if you go on to it, if you check the site, you will find a lot of, this Jadu Ka Pitara, which can help you to teach your younger children very well using waste materials, flashcards, number counting systems, etc. can be taught very well. This Jadu Ka Pitara completely they show on their website as how you can make it. They have teacher assessment surveys also. You can take a teacher assessment survey for yourself to understand what are your weak areas and what are your strong areas. Beautiful lessons are planned. You can use it for your own classes. It's a rich bank of knowledge. Do visit the NCRT website, okay, and make use of it. And let me tell you, it is very well updated and regularly monitored. So you will get a lot of material which you will not get otherwise. All right. Okay. I'm through. I'm ready for questions now. Hello.
I request everyone to please ask your questions. You can drop your questions in the chat box, or now you can simply unmute yourself and please ask the questions.
Ma'am, are you going to send the attendance link, please?
Yes, ma'am, we'll do that.
मैम वो जादू का पिटार आपने कहा है
कंप्यूटर ग्रुप का है
No, there's somebody who asked me for Jadu Ka Pitara. Please go to the primary section. Materials for the pre-primary and primary section. The button that you have on
कोई
NCRT.
ऐप है मैम जादू का पिटारा कोई ऐप है क्या
ये ऐप नहीं है मैडम. This is a teaching learning. It's a tool. It's a tool that you can use in classroom. तो ये आप देख सकते हैं कि उसको कैसे आप अपने बच्चों के लिए बना सकते हैं. बच्चे भी उसमें मदद कर सकते हैं आपको बनाने के लिए.
किस वेबसाइट में जाना है उसे देखने के लिए
NCRT वाला
वेबसाइट में.
हाँ जी हाँ जी.
थैंक यू मैम.
हेलो.
Very nice session, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, please.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you, madam.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah.
sometimes what happens is the young children, I mean the pre-primary ones,
Yeah.
takes a lot of time to grasp the whatever we teach them, and it
Correct.
takes time.
Yeah.
But the parents, they keep complaining that "Ma'am, अभी भी तीन महीने हो गए, बच्चे को कुछ नहीं आता," and all like that stuff. So how do
Yeah.
we do that?
All right. Ma'am, first and foremost, it is not difficult to teach children, but it is extremely difficult to teach parents. All right. So whenever you're trying something new, please keep in mind that you're orienting the parent as well. प्राइमरी स्कूल की जहां बात होती है ना, वहां आप पेरेंट्स को अपने साथ लेकर चलिए, कॉन्स्टेंटली मीट करिए. Parent orientation, in fact, if you read the NEP 2020 document very well, they are asking us to do parent orientation constantly and very, very frequently. Because you see, your parents are, when you say no examination system till class 2, your parents need to understand the assessment hoga kaise. एक ही
But
assessment होगा.
how do we motivate in a rural area like Himachal? Hardly parents come, for complaint and all might be regular, but for such orientation meetings and all, even for PTM, they are not interested.
अभी तो बड़ी आसानी है, ठीक है ना. जैसे if I'm sitting in West Bengal and if you're sitting in Himachal, we are able to connect to each other. अभी ऐसा है कि मोबाइल फोन को आप किस तरीके से यूज करेंगे. You don't need to physically. Suppose you are getting a group of parents who are constantly not coming for the parent-teacher meeting, क्योंकि ये भी डर हो सकता है उनको कि मुझे अंग्रेजी समझ में आएगी नहीं जो टीचर बोलने वाली है, right?
Okay.
So what you can do is you can isolate these parents. Hello. You can isolate these parents. Okay. Take them on a WhatsApp video call. WhatsApp video call तो सबको आता है करना, right?
Okay.
और आप उनको उनके लोकल लैंग्वेज में जो उनको समझने में आसानी हो आप करिए. ये आपके लिए आसान होगा और उनके लिए भी धीरे धीरे you will be able to break the ice and make your approachable to them. Are you getting me?
Okay. Yeah, I got it.
There are ways of looking at a problem. अब प्रॉब्लम को सिर्फ प्रॉब्लम तक तो आप छोड़ नहीं सकते हैं, आपको सोल्यूशन ढूंढना पड़ेगा, राइट? तो इजीएस्ट मेथड इज व्हाट्सएप वीडियो कॉल. आजकल व्हाट्सएप सबके पास है. व्हाट्सएप वीडियो कॉल को करना भी आता है, तो आप इनको आइडेंटिफाई करिए और इनको आप अप्रोच करिए ऑन रेगुलर बेसिस. पहले पर्सनली बात करिए, उसके बाद आप प्रॉब्लम्स समझाइए कि इस तरीके से वी आर प्लानिंग टू गो अहेड एंड वी वुड लाइक टू हैव योर सपोर्ट and talk to them in the local language. अंग्रेजी या कोई और भाषा मत बोलिए जिसमें वो कंफर्टेबल नहीं है. तो जैसे जैसे वो आइस ब्रेकिंग होगा, you will see that you are able to ensure their frequency in the school a little more than what was happening earlier. All right?
Okay, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Ma'am, there is one more question which is raised by a teacher. That's many kids are lazy in writing and some are lazy in reading. How to deal with them?
Exactly. Point is, it's not some. Post-pandemic, none of our children are ready to write. In fact, reading writing is like a dream. The yardstick is now to make them sit straight with their spine straight for the 5 to 6 hours that they are with us. You will notice that our children are losing their spine strength. They tend to bend down. So, in fact, if you've been looking at the answer papers or the text copy submitted, your grade is no more GRE 80, it is GR 8, right? So that's a very common thing which we are getting to notice now. Again, I would say perseverance and patience. These are going to be very, very important to you along with practice. So perseverance, patience and practice. And you are to ensure, if you're talking about young children, you start with shapes first, like we always do. The bending lines, and then you finally get into shapes, and slowly you can I'll tell you a simple exercise which you can do with children to to enhance their motor skills. जब हम writing की बात करते हैं या पढ़ने की बात करते हैं, these are all your motor skills, right? All you need to do, we call this as a squishy squashy activity. Take some rice grains, चावल हर किसी के घर में होता है, जिपलॉक वाला बैग लीजिए, चावल के अंदर, चावल ग्रेन्स के अंदर थोड़ा सा ऑयल मिलाइए, कोई भी ऑयल, एनी ऑयल, मस्टर्ड ऑयल, रिफाइंड ऑयल, एनी ऑयल, okay? Enough oil, enough grains. Ask the children to seal it, seal the mouth of the poly bag in a ziplock or staple or jo bhi, and then ask them to get it to school. And in their free time, they should squash it with their fingers. This is an excellent exercise for developing their motor skills. And there is hardly koi aapko wo play doh and wo sab nahi kharidna hai. Play doh again is a method of developing their motor skills. You don't need all those fancy things. बड़े सामान्य सी चीज, आप आटा से भी ये कर सकते हो. All right. So these are a couple of activities which would not require you to take any extra effort. और बच्चों को बड़ा मजा भी आता है.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, my pleasure.
And meanwhile, ma'am, we will get the questions from all the teachers and principals. So we will collect and we will share with your team so that we can get your guidance.
All right.
And once again, Ms. Acharya, ma'am, your insights, wisdom, and dedication to the field of education is really inspiring. And your extensive experience and your commitment to inclusive learning and your impressive achievements are truly inspiring. So, on behalf of all the participants and our company, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to you for your time, your knowledge, and thank you to our company, that's Goyal Brothers Prakashan. Your commitment to advancing education and your support in creating this platform for knowledge sharing is commendable. So
Thank
let
you
us
so much.
take the
Pleasure.
insight. I would request everyone to please keep your mics on mute. And now let us take the insights gained from today's webinar and carry them forward into your educational practices, classrooms, and everyday lives. So once again, a heartful thanks to our remarkable speaker, Ms. Acharya ma'am, and our gracious host, Goyal Brothers Prakashan. We look forward to future collaborations and more opportunities for enlightenment. And I have already shared the attendance link with all of you. You can please fill out the attendance form. Who has missed it? Jatin sir, would you like to speak something?
No, I think that's it from our end today. We will come back again with the next session, I think, which we have planned. Next session, let me check. So all of you can come and join with the same link whenever there is the next session planned. Let me just tell you when we have the next session and on which topic we have. So our next session is on 30th December, which is day after tomorrow, Monday, exploring Panchadis. So let's all meet on Monday again and discuss and explore the world of knowledge with Goyal Brothers Prakashan. With this, we would like to thank everyone and thank you, ma'am, once again, and thank you to all the participants. We will end the webinar now.